Welcome back to Believe in Jets, a New York Jets podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. My name is Rami Lavi. So the video I posted about Aaron Rodgers and how Aaron Glenn, if he was this big tough guy in the media, he'd have more control of Aaron Rodgers in the room. It got some negative feedback on social media because people can't just be positive. But one person's comment I loved. One person writes, he goes, "This is why I stopped listening to this podcast because these takes are just awful. I can't handle it over and over again with these terrible takes." You know how happy that made me feel? Look, all my quote unquote takes, this is how I feel. I'm being genuine and honest with you. And people who didn't listen to the full show and just saw a clip on social media and thought that that was my whole take, no, I kind of continued and said, and I even posted a clip of it on social media, that no, I don't think this was Aaron Glenn's decision at all. And if it was Aaron Glenn's decision, he probably would have chosen to go with Aaron Rodgers. So I think actually Aaron Glenn sees himself as a fit leader. I was building to a point that the whole point was that I think Woody Johnson is still running the show, and that's what's ultimately going to hold the Jets back. So that was my point. So regardless, the guy and most people who are commenting negative comments online didn't get my point. And again, when I say something, it's because I believe it. It's because that's how I think. And I'm not just coming on here to throw off some hot takes. Now, when I clip a piece for social media and I post it, do I want it to be something that'll catch your attention and hopefully send you to the full podcast and you can listen to the full take? Yes, that's what I want. That's my goal. But most people don't do that. They scroll through TikTok, they see 30 seconds of it, they're like, "Oh, this guy's wrong. He's an idiot. Here's why." But when the person said I had to stop listening to his podcast because of takes like this, I was like, man, this was a person who took time out of their day multiple times. This was a regular listener, apparently, because they listened and heard multiple takes like this and said they stopped listening to the podcast. Now, I don't want anyone to stop listening to the podcast, but man, this person felt so strongly about the things that I'm saying on this show that they had to stop what was a regular routine of theirs. That means I'm cutting through. So like me or hate me, I don't really care. I'm usually right. That's been proven. That's been the case. When everyone was clowning on the Mets, I was on them all season. Now coming into this season with the Mets and the Yankees, I look at them and I'm like, I don't know. Their numbers seem a little bit high. Frankie Montas and Giancarlo Stanton already injured. Who could have seen that coming? Oh, everyone could have seen that coming, but we were so busy talking about how many MVPs the Yankees have had, even though none of them are in their prime anymore other than Aaron Judge. Everyone's so busy talking about, oh, the Mets last year, this is what David Stearns does. He's got the pitching lab. He finds these diamonds in the rough pitchers. When in reality, sometimes you do have to pay for star pitchers. And last year was probably an aberration. And this year will be a return to the means for the Mets. But all of a sudden, we come into the season, these high expectations. We got Juan Soto. Oh, we're even better without Juan Soto. We got Bellinger and Goldschmidt and Max Fried and all these things. And when you look at both teams, they're both extremely flawed. And like I said last year, and I'm going to say it again this year, they're probably neither one's going to win the World Series this year. And if you look at the 92.5 total for the Mets or the 93.5 total for the Yankees, I would bet the under on both because we already have issues. We're not even a week into spring training. We haven't started games yet. It's pitchers and catchers, and we have both teams are dealing with injuries. And I think the teams are flawed to begin with. I don't think either team is that great. I'm really happy the Mets brought back Pete Alonso. Their lineup is going to mash. I don't trust their pitching. The Yankees' starting rotation should be incredible. Their lineup is so much worse than last year. And oh, by the way, their lineup wasn't great last year. They had two great players, but the lineup as a whole was not great. It was great in the playoffs when Giancarlo Stanton carried them, but even then they couldn't hit in big spots. So all of a sudden, Anthony Volpe is going to take this leap. All of a sudden, Paul Goldschmidt is going to turn back the clock. And you take Juan Soto out of that lineup. Meanwhile, on the other side, you have the Mets. You think every single one, just like you did last year, you hit on every single one of these starters. All those guys got paid this summer because, or this offseason, this winter, because of what they did last year. You think that's going to happen again? You're just going to go 100 for 100 on every single one of these guys? It's likely not going to be the case. And we're seeing it already with Frankie Montas. So I think it's good. I think the baseball season could be disappointing in New York again, and I wouldn't be shocked if this is closer to a 2023 season than the 2024 season that we saw. Now, how did I get into this? I have no idea. No clue. I'm usually right about my takes. That's what I was going to say. And bringing it to the Jets, I want to start the Jets conversation here. I did see, I guess it was an article or a report, but the reports, who knows what's happening. Like we had disputing reports with Ian Rappaport and Diana Rossini, and then no, we're not disputing. It's kind of somewhere in between. We just reported it stronger than it was, but the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Oh, so then you embellished your report. And then when people called you out for being wrong, you said, no, 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 this was wrong. We were both wrong. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. So again, we're just seeing that people are embellishing reports because when you put out these scathing reports about Aaron Rodgers, it gets clicks. Oh, I'm familiar with that. Yes. The point is, and everyone's like, oh, this is exactly the kind of guy Aaron Rodgers want to hang out with. I would love to hang out with Aaron Rodgers. Wow, you pegged me. I'd love to hang out with Aaron Rodgers. Sorry, I like Aaron Rodgers. Do I love some of the things he says? It could hurt your team, but he's kind of funny. Wow, what a big insult. I would like to hang out with Aaron Rodgers. Man, only one of the best football players ever, and my favorite quarterback ever to watch. So I'm a little bit emotional that the Jets moved on from him to go to no plan, zero plan. And the report was that Aaron Rodgers pleaded with the Jets to come back. If you can't see me, if you're not watching this on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or Twitter or wherever you can follow me and find this great video, because you can find them wherever you'd like, on any of those platforms, just look up Rami Lavi. Aaron Rodgers never begged. He doesn't beg. He's not a pleader. I'm rolling my eyes because this is not the kind of guy who would go back to the Jets, walk into Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, who are basically his age, and beg them to bring him back. It's just not the kind of guy he is. And so I don't believe that he did that. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't follow anything that Aaron Rodgers would do. It's not his personality at all. Everyone apparently knows his personality so well because of this public persona he and the media have cultivated together, and equal to blame, him and the media for sure, or both to blame for the personality and the persona that he has. But this idea that Aaron Rodgers begged the Jets, I don't get that. Now, do I think he wanted to come back with the Jets? Yes, and I'll explain. Aaron Rodgers' best chance of not ending his career with a dud and not ending his career going out like this and putting a damper on his whole legacy, because all anyone wants to talk about is this exit from Green Bay, the last year there with a thumb injury, him hurting his Achilles 4 snaps in with the Jets, all the hard knocks and everything that went into that, and then this past season, how awful it was and the stuff with McAfee. That's all anyone wants to talk about. And that's all anyone's going to talk about when you talk about legacy. Somehow people forget the years of success, the MVPs, the Super Bowl win. And I know everyone, oh, you only won one Super Bowl, because everyone just gets a Super Bowl. You know how hard it was for Peyton Manning, who got carried to his second Super Bowl? He had one, and then he got carried to a second. But sure, we're going to clown on Aaron Rodgers because he only has one Super Bowl. Those fuckers are hard to win. Tom Brady's the only one who done it 7 times. And now, by the way, it's the same thing. It's like we clown on Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a loser. Patrick Mahomes, he got blown out twice in the Super Bowl because he's there every freaking year. All of a sudden, it becomes a negative. Like he's won 3 times already. Like the fact that we're holding a Super Bowl loss against the guy who's there every freaking year, it's absurd to me. It's mind-boggling. But Aaron Rodgers knows he doesn't want it to end like this. And he saw the last 8 games. He has some good football left in him. And so if he's in a good situation, a good spot, he could have success. And if he runs it back here, even if it's a new OC, even if it's a new head coach, the defense has talent. It should be better under a new head coach. The offense has talent that he's worked with clearly. The offensive line is actually better than people give it credit for. It was really good the second half of the season as well. Maybe, just maybe, this is his best opportunity. He doesn't have to move. He could stay here in New Jersey, and which is why I think the Giants is a funny option for him. He could just bring some sense of, I guess, even if he just makes the playoffs and he brings like a sense of pride or just a sense of not total loserness back to the Jets, the word that I'm thinking of is escaping me. I think that's a successful way to end his career in his mind. And he thinks that, hey, you bring back Adams. I have Garrett Wilson already. Breece Hall's pretty good. Braylon Allen's pretty good. This offensive line is good. I'm comfortable here. I got my feet wet. I got more comfortable and more healthy as the season went on. Let's run it back. See what happens. We'll be playing a last place schedule. We could actually do this thing this year. I actually think that Aaron Rodgers looked at this as a good opportunity, as a good landing spot for him. And when you look around the rest of the league, where's he going to go? Pittsburgh? Maybe. Do they have the weapons the Jets have? Is their defense is probably better, but they play in a really tough division with Baltimore and Cincinnati. The no nonsense guy that is Mike Tomlin, do they want him there? I don't know. Minnesota, you really want to complete the Brett Favre cycle? Now, I think Minnesota's a good option for him. If they don't want to give a full multi-year commitment to Sam Darnold, which I still think they should because his price has definitely come down from where it was prior to the last two games of the season. So I think his price coming down should be a reason why they do keep Sam Darnold because you don't know what you have yet obviously with JJ McCarthy. So maybe you should wait and see. But if you want to instead bring in Aaron Rodgers and say, hey, look what Sam did in this offense. You could have real success in this offense. You could actually win a couple playoff games. You could get back at the Packers, beat the Bears like you always do. All those things that you can do in that division. Now, does he want to complete that cycle? And by the way, I'm sure he has a vendetta with the Lions the way they ended his career in Green Bay. Do you want to complete that cycle? But you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. That's a good combo right there. Go play with your buddy Aaron Jones, right? I don't know if he wants to complete that cycle. Vegas, I still think that's a realistic option, but their roster's not as good as the Jets. Same thing with the Giants. They're not as good. Maybe, and this is weird. Why would the Rams move on from Matthew Stafford to get Aaron Rodgers? Now, the 49ers is the best option for him. I discussed this. They could trade Brock Purdy. Um, that's a possibility. But do they give up the long-term possible answer with Brock Purdy? Whatever they think of him, he's clearly capable enough. He's brought them to a Super Bowl. Do they give that up for an aging Aaron Rodgers? Now, I do think that they do need to win with this aging squad. They have an older core, and we're already seeing now Deebo Samuel wants out, and he already doesn't look like he's the same player that he once was. So I think their window is closing, and I think Kyle Shanahan knows that. So maybe they try and go for it all with Aaron Rodgers. Say this is going to be the difference. He'd be the number one quarterback in the NFC. Let's make this move right now. But there's a strong possibility, and this is probably the far more realistic possibility and far more realistic answer that they say no. We're going to trust Brock Purdy. We could still get him for cheap. We could sign him to this contract, whatever the extension is going to be. Maybe we don't give him $50 million a year. Who knows what he's going to demand with a contract this year? Maybe we give him a little bit less, and he's our long-term answer, and we could still build a good enough team around him that we have the quarterback, and here's where we go with the future. We saw it with Jalen Hurts. Again, Jalen Hurts is making a ton of money. They still put a great team around him, and I don't think Jalen Hurts is this great quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts is very solid and really good and has the ability to play some really good games. And in this offense, he's a really good quarterback. I don't think he's a great quarterback. When we're doing the whole, oh my God, Jalen Hurts has never gotten an MVP vote like that we did with Russell Wilson 3 years later, it's like, yeah, because everything around him was so great that he was never the MVP. So I think that's where we end up with this. But when you look at all the options, I do think that the best option for Aaron Rodgers was to stay with the Jets. And that's why I don't blame him for going to the Jets and being like, all right, what can I do? And which is why I don't also believe that they gave him an ultimatum and said, oh, well, you can't do McAfee, you can't do this, you can't do that. He probably said himself, I don't want to do any of that stuff if it's going to cost me my ability to play here. I don't want to do any of that stuff if it's going to cost me a chance to play here. I think Aaron Rodgers probably was fully committed. And like I said on last episode, the decision was already made. Woody Johnson made this decision. There was no discussion. There was no decision to be made once Aaron Rodgers got in the room. Woody Johnson was insulted, so he doesn't want to bring him back. And that's my issue with the Jets moving on from Aaron Rodgers. Regardless of all the other things, when you boil it down, whether they could be better without him, maybe the roster's not that good, they need to blow the whole thing up. All the different arguments that you're hearing back and forth with the Jets media and community and everything. The bottom line is what this proves is that Woody Johnson is still making the decisions, and as long as Woody Johnson is making the decisions, this organization will not be successful. And that's unfortunate. That's the unfortunate part of it. What I do think, and there are a couple of options for the Jets, and I'm curious what some of the options are, because what about Matthew Stafford? Everyone's talking about Matthew Stafford to the Giants or to other teams. If the Jets are still just a quarterback away, or perhaps they're just looking for a bridge quarterback just so they can make the playoffs, doesn't Matthew Stafford make a ton of sense for the Jets? He's younger than Rodgers. He's not coming off an injury. You have 3 years probably with him. He comes here. By the way, Engstrand did overlap with him in Detroit for 1 year. He was on the offensive coaching staff for 1 year, Stafford's last year in Detroit. You bring him here. He looked really good this past season with the Rams. Now, I know he's indoors most of the time. Now he'll be outdoors in New York, but okay. He comes here. Maybe he could play really well. He did play in the NFC North, right? In the cold weather up there. Clearly, his wife wants to have a bigger platform. So New York would be great for her career, her media career. So maybe Matthew Stafford is the answer for the Jets. I could see it. Or, and this is crazy, if you believe that your best chance at winning football games is to have a bridge quarterback for the next couple of years and draft someone underneath them, get some stability back to the organization, get some respectability back to the Jets, and then go find your young quarterback. If that's the best option, keep Sauce happy, keep Quinnen Williams happy, keep Garrett Wilson happy, teach those young guys how to win because they are losers themselves. And granted, while the Aaron Rodgers experiment didn't work and a lot of it's on Aaron Rodgers, it's also on you guys why the experiment didn't work, particularly the defense and how they just blew games late in games. Those six fourth quarter leads that were blown. Sure, Aaron Rodgers is partly to blame for that, but they had six fourth quarter leads this year that they blew. You don't think the defense gets any blame for that? Obviously, the coaching gets a lot of blame for that. The special teams, especially the kicker, gets a lot of blame for that. Rodgers gets some blame for that too. But the defense gets blamed for that. But the players who are still here are the losers. You got rid of the one guy who's ever won a damn thing in his career, and you're left with the loser. So how do you teach them how to win? I'd suggest that you do it by winning football games. Who gives you the best chance currently on the market? Probably Matthew Stafford. Or do we have too much PTSD from the Aaron Rodgers saga, from saying, oh, we were one quarterback away and going and getting in that quarterback, getting the great quarterback and it not working out? We are so just done with that kind of thing that now we need to blow it up and say, no, 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 we got to go back to the drawing board of drafting a young quarterback, which, by the way, you should have far more PTSD as a Jets fan with that. Do I need to list the names? Forget about Darnold and Geno and Sanchez and Zach Wilson, but the Hackenbergs and all the guys that they drafted. Do we really need to go through every single one of those names? Bryce Petty? You want to go through every single one of those names? The Jets have tried it the Aaron Rodgers route now twice, right? They did it with Favre, they did it with Rodgers, bring in the veteran. Favre, it was weird that wasn't really the plan. He kind of fell in their lap in August. It was the only place he could go. Rodgers, yes, they tried it. That was the plan. We can win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. So you're so just distraught from that experience that you're not willing to go after Matthew Stafford. Instead, you're going to go back to the well of drafting a quarterback, which has failed you countless times more than the veteran quarterback has failed you. Now, if this were Kirk Cousins, I'd be arguing the opposite. No, he's coming off an injury. He's worse than Aaron Rodgers. He's never been as good. He looked far worse than Aaron Rodgers this past season. Why would I go with Kirk Cousins? But with Matthew Stafford, he's healthy. He's young. He's good. He's not young, but he's younger. And his ceiling was always better than a Kirk Cousins. Now, the other news out there is that maybe they're just going after Jackson Dart because the guy they brought in to oversee the whole operation is a big Jackson Dart fan. So who knows? Maybe that's where they go with all of this. But whatever they do at quarterback, even if they go into the season with Tyrod Taylor, and here's my little bit of positivity. For all you people who say I'm so freaking negative, here's my positivity for you. I talked about it before on the podcast, but apparently you don't listen. You just see the clips on social media and then you clown me. Fine. You want positivity? We're right on course with the 2024 New York Mets timeline. We get rid of the aging star, just like they got rid of Scherzer and Verlander. We're going into the season with we're just trying to change the culture. We bring in a first-time head coach. They brought in first-time Carlos Mendoza, first-time manager. It's we'll just see what we're trying to do here. We bring in a couple of guys off the scrap heap, whether it's Luis Severino, Carlos Carrasco, or it wasn't Carrasco, but it was Luis Severino, Jose Quintana, Harrison Bader. All right, let's see where the season goes. We're not trying to win too many games. We're just trying to stay competitive, just compete. Maybe we get a wild card spot. Does that sound similar? Yeah, we're just going to go with Tyrod Taylor. Maybe we'll get another veteran in here to compete with. Maybe we'll get a young kid to bring up. Maybe we take a look at Jordan Travis. First-time head coach, Aaron Glenn. The problem is the New York Mets, they started the season terribly. So you're willing to wait? You're willing to go into that season with that little bit of just all right, it's a nothing season. Because that's how we went into the 2024 Mets. This is a nothing season. We're punting on the season. I didn't think that, but a lot of people did. And when you start poorly, are you going to stay on the bandwagon? You're going to be like, man, they can turn it around. because let me tell you, the season with zero expectations that turns into a great season is the most enjoyable experience in sports. It is far better than a season with high expectations, even if you meet them. Expectation is the thief of joy, right? When you have high expectations, you can only fail to meet them, and it only leads to disappointment. But the 2024 Mets showed you that they had no expectations and they exceeded them, and it was the most fun season there was. Is that where the Jets are headed in 2025? I hope so. I'm not one of these people who roots against them. Just because I think they're doing the wrong thing, I hope they're right. I hope I'm wrong and they are right. I think they're doing it the wrong way. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop rooting for them. So if you want the positive, we're right on time. We're right on the timeline for the 2024 New York Mets. All right, I'm going to take a quick break and I want to talk about the NBA because the NBA, NHL, the All-Star games, the comparisons between the two that we're seeing now, it's kind of ridiculous. So I just want to give my opinion on what both leagues or really what the NBA should do because this Four Nations face-off has been awesome for the NHL. I think it could work next year in the NBA. I'll explain. Coming up right after a quick break. Today's episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selections of odds from on everything from NBA to college basketball to the NHL and UFC. Bet Online continues to be your number one source for betting. From every three-pointer to hat trick, Bet Online has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online, the game starts here. That was a tough read without my new glasses, which is crazy. If you follow me on TikTok, again, I don't know how many times I'm going to plug the TikTok today, but I plugged it earlier in the show. You should be following me on TikTok. There's some good content there, and if you hate me and hate my takes, go follow me on TikTok and yell at me. It seems like what everyone else does. I don't know why I'm giving that so much attention on the show today. I really don't. Like, it's funny because I have more likes on the post than I do comments, right? So theoretically, more people agree with me, and people focus so much on the negative. I shouldn't do that. I should be better. But if you see I'm wearing a hockey hat today, it's because hockey won the weekend when you talk about All-Star weekend in both sports. But my glasses story, as you heard that ad read, was not great because I can't really see anymore. I'm a glasses guy now. If you watch, I talked about this story where I went to a popular glasses store. It's Warby Parker. I'm happy saying the name now because I can give them a positive plug. I think they did a great job and they righted a wrong that awesome customer service, Warby Parker. So I appreciate you guys. But what happened was the way it works is you go, you get your glasses fit, and then you have to bring them back to the store to get them adjusted to your face. So I went, I tried on the pair. They sent them to me, obviously, with my prescription. I get them in the mail. And when I got them in the mail, it came with two pairs of glasses, the glasses I ordered and a prescription pair of sunglasses that I had not ordered. They were my prescription. I kind of liked them. Initially, I was like, I don't really like these. And then when I tried them on, I'm like, oh, these are actually pretty cool. And maybe I'll keep them. They're my prescription. Why not? So I go into the store and bring both pairs to get adjusted. And when I bring both pairs in, they take the pair. They say, hey, we don't see this pair on the order. I was like, I know. You guys sent this to me, I guess, by accident. And they're like, yeah, let's see about that. They bring it to the manager in the back, and I hear the manager say, no, you have to trash it. This is a mistake. They weren't supposed to send this. This is not the first time it's happened. And I hear her saying this, the manager saying this to the employee who was helping me at this particular location. And I'm like, oh, they're going to take these glasses from me? And they did. She's like, yeah, I have to take them and put them in the back. She like locks them in a room in the back. I'm like, they're good. I heard the lady say you're going to trash them. Let me buy them off of you. She's like, no, if you want to buy them, you have to place an order online, wait the 10 days for them to come again. You can't buy. I said, what? Those are my glasses with my prescription. You're not going to do anything with them. You're just going to throw them in the trash instead of giving them to me? That's insanity. That's literally like, that's crazy. That's spiteful, and it's just you don't want to give me glasses because you guys messed up and sent me an extra pair of glasses by accident for free. For that reason, you're going to punish me and take them away from me. And by the way, I did get a comment on my TikTok that actually technically it's my property once they are sent to me with my name on it. So I could take legal action and sue for that pair of glasses. Not the point. I would never do that. But I offered to pay for them. I was literally, I said, guys, come on. This is ridiculous. I'm willing to pay for them, and you're going to tell me that I have to go through the process all over again to get these glasses. Why? Because you sent them to me by accident, and maybe it's spite, whatever reason you guys decided you won't give them to me. That seems absurd to me. So I get on the phone. I start texting. They have a customer service text line. I'm like, maybe this location, the people working here are just morons. Clearly, they sent me two pairs of glasses. So I text the like the corporate number. And I'm texting back and forth, and they were a lot more helpful. They're like, yeah, that seems odd. Let me see what I can do. So they reach back out. They're like, oh, it sounds like they're going to donate them or send them to be recycled. Don't worry, they're not going to trash them. I said, yeah, but why couldn't I have kept them? Like, is there any way one of your managers, one of your supervisors could give me a call? And I'm not a Karen. I felt so uncomfortable doing this. I brought them back into the store. Like, I wasn't trying to get one over on them. I paid for it or offered to pay for it at least. The supervisor calls me back and she's like, this is terrible. I'm so sorry that they treated you that way. They should have let you keep the glasses. That was just terrible customer service. I'm sorry you had that experience. I'm going to send you a free pair of glasses for your inconvenience because I want you to have a good experience. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. These people are so nice. But I said to her, I said, no, I don't want to send you just send me a new pair of glasses. I'm still in the parking lot. I went to grocery shop and grab a coffee once I was there. It's kind of like this strip mall area. I could go back in. It was like a half hour ago. I could just go back in and grab the pair. She's like, oh, let me call them and see if they still have it in store. She calls them and calls me back. She's like, yeah, they said they don't have the pair anymore. I'm like, there's no chance. They for sure are just trying to save face because they're embarrassed. 20 minutes later, I'm going to walk back in and take the glasses back from them. I said, fine, you could order me the new pair. They ordered me the new pair. But you bet your ass when I walk back into that store with this swanky pair of sunglasses and I put them on, I say, fit them to my face. I'm going to be smiling ear to ear like, see these glasses? Remember these glasses? These are the glasses you didn't let me keep. So your company sent me a second free pair. So instead of just sending me the one free pair and screwing up, they sent me a second free pair thanks to you. So to Warby Parker, you guys are incredible. You have excellent customer service. You didn't have to give me a free pair of glasses. I wanted to pay for them. I was happy to pay for them, but you righted the wrong that this customer service location at this location by just having excellent customer service. Great job, guys. To the location that I went to, you guys suck and you guys should all be fired. So that's my little rant. And it all because I thought of it because I was reading that ad read and I couldn't read it because I'm not wearing my glasses right now. I should be wearing them all the time. So the NBA and NHL had their All-Star weekends, and obviously you have the US and Canada going at it, fighting. By the way, shout out TikTok. I keep talking about TikTok. I can see, the craziest things on TikTok. Women doing things that they shouldn't be doing, all these different things that we see on TikTok. But for some reason, they put a ban or like a violence code on the NHL. The ESPN posted the video of the first 9 seconds of the game between the U.S. and Canada where there were three fights, and TikTok put like this cover on it, like watch this, even though this is you can't watch this content, but if you want to watch it anyway, here click this button if you're over 18 or whatever. That's where you're drawing the line as sensitive content. TikTok, really? The NHL fighting? That's where you draw the line with the things I see on that app? That's just ridiculous. And fine. But these games are competitive. They care. They put their team uniform or their country uniform on. You wear USA across the chest. All of a sudden, you care a lot. That was awesome to watch. Meanwhile, you have Vince Carter on Saturday night on the set with TNT talking about how, I saw Jordan and all those guys come to the dunk contest and I wanted to be the next great dunker. There wasn't a fear of failing. I wanted to prove that I could be as good as those guys. There was a sense of pride that came with it. Now, no one in the NBA will even show up. We have a bunch of G Leaguers and guys who don't play any minutes. And no disrespect to Mac McClung. He does a great job, but I want to see superstars. I want to see what Giannis could do. I want to see what John Morant could do. I want to see what Anthony Edwards can do in a dunk contest. And I want to see guys who are just random. Like, I still want to see Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Kyrie Irving in the three-point contest and Damian Lillard. Like, is that too much to ask for? And then the mockery, Chris Paul and what Victor Wembanyama were doing with his skills competition. No wonder nobody watches it. You guys are making a mockery of the entire thing. And the best tweet I saw, Stephen Bondy, who is a beat reporter for the Knicks, he writes, or Chris Paul trying to cheat the system, but still losing is the perfect encapsulation of his career. Great tweet, Stephen. Exactly. CP3, like, what? That's crazy that happened to me. How did this happen? Constantly trying to cheat the system and losing anyway. What a loser Chris Paul is. And so I don't want to give too much time to it because it's just so pathetic. And then you have Draymond Green going on there yelling about the league ruined it and crying. Oh, the league is the one that ruined it. The league ruined the All-Star game. Shut up, Draymond Green. You ruined the All-Star game. Somebody put a great clip out there of all the times he just refused to play defense in the All-Star game. You're there because you're a defensive guy. All you do is play defense. Draymond, you're just a guy who plays defense. That was the only reason you ever became an All-Star, was because you played with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant. If you don't play with those guys, you never become an All-Star. The only reason you're an All-Star is because you played great defense. And then you went to the All-Star game and played zero defense. Like, so you're going to complain that it's the league that ruined the format? The only reason they changed the format was because guys like you and your peers showed up and made a mockery of it and didn't give any effort and didn't play any defense. I'm not telling you guys to go out there and kill yourselves. Watch the All-Star game from 15 years ago. They give some level of effort. And then in the fourth quarter, they lock in. You saw Wembanyama like raising his hands like, what the F are we doing? When a guy just walked right behind him to get a dunk because no one else is playing defense on his team for the game winner. It's just pathetic. The game is boring. It stinks. Oh, these young kids aren't all-stars. Yeah, but you know what the young kids are going to do? They're going to try their asses off because they want to prove themselves against the best players in the world. Now they couldn't win because they're not as good. If you put Wemby and some of the actual young talented players in the league on that team, sure, they probably would have had a chance. But it was the non-all-star young kids. So Draymond Green, the audacity to get up there and yell about the format and the league ruining it. My God, cry me a freaking river. You're the one who ruined it. But I have a fix. I have a fix for everything. I have a solution. And the solution is to follow the model that the NHL did and make it US versus the world. And the only reason it's going to work next year while Steph is still in the league, while LeBron's still in the league, while KD's still in the league, because those guys are the OGs. Those guys are prideful. And the faces of the league, whether you like it or not, the best four players in the NBA right now are Luka, SGA, Giannis, Jokic, all foreign players. Wembanyama's the next up-and-coming guy, foreign player. SGA is Canadian, but still. So if you want to actually make the All-Star game great, this is the last year the NBA can do it. Because you still have LeBron and Steph and KD, all those guys, the OGs at the top of their game who can play for Team USA. But if you make two teams, US versus the world, there's going to be a sense of pride all of a sudden. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, wait, these young guns, international kids, they're going to try and beat us at our game? All of a sudden, you think LeBron and Steph and KD and these guys aren't going to take it seriously? And you don't think SGA and Luka and Jokic, they don't want to prove a point? I'm sure they do. So here's what you do. You put SGA, Luka, Giannis, Jokic, Porzingis, Wemby, Şengün, Markkanen, the Bogdanoviches, Pascal Siakam and Jamal Murray, and Domantas Sabonis on one team. That's a loaded team for the international team. On the other side, you have LeBron, Steph, KD, Anthony Edwards, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving, Karl Anthony Towns, Joel Embiid, Jalen Brunson, Devin Booker, Damian Lillard, and Anthony Davis. You put them on that side, their Team US. You could add a bunch of other guys to Team US. Obviously, the list goes on and on. And I think that alone would bring back some of the pride that there is in your country and putting on a uniform that says USA on it and wanting to beat the world. And the world wanting to say, hey, we own the NBA. We run basketball internationally right now. But I'll take it a step further than that, because that, I think, alone will bring back some competitive basketball. You want to take it a step further? These monetary rewards mean nothing to the players. It's a drop in the bucket. How do you make it hurt them? Take their money out of their pocket. If every player had to put 1% of their salary for that year, that's it, 1% of their salary for that year in a pool, and the team that wins splits that money evenly amongst them, all of a sudden there's a gambling aspect here, right? It's sponsored by FanDuel or Bet Online. It's sponsored content, and it's a gambling aspect. All these players keep getting in trouble for gambling. They clearly want to bet. We hear all the stories about Michael Jordan and the side bets that they used to do. You guys want to gamble? Here's your opportunity to gamble. All-Star game. You guys can bet. Each one of you guys puts 1% of your salary for that season. If you're Jaylen Brown, you're making $50 million a year. That's $500,000. That's a lot of money. It's $500,000. It's dropping a bucket for you, for your contract. It's 1% of your contract. If you're making 30, you get the point. The list goes down the line. If you're Wembanyama, it's obviously less money. You put 1% of your contract in a bucket, and then the winning team splits it evenly amongst them, or charity, or whatever they want to do. You don't think it'll feel good for them taking money from the other team? That'll feel good for these guys. That's what they like. They like taking each other's money. They like gambling. So I think you restore the sense of pride, US versus the world. It has to happen this year. It has to happen while LeBron and Steph and KD are still at the top of their game. Because in a couple of years from now, the world would for sure crush them. Now, I think the world is a way better team than US, but I think there's going to be pride on both sides. And I think we'll see some effort. I think we'll see the best players in the world. We'll see some effort. And you want to make it that they really care, that they really don't want to lose, make it hurt their pocket, make it hurt their wallet, put some of their own money on the line. Will the players ever agree to this? No, they won't. Because the people who run the league, like CJ McCollum and LeBron, who are part of the Players Association, will never let money come out of their pockets. Even though they can make more money, obviously, the team that wins is going to make more money. But no, why have a competitive sport? Why do it that way? I liked Big Cat and PFT's choice. They said that uh they said they should do whites versus blacks. Still have Luca and Jokic. But Alex Caruso is going to be getting minutes in that game. We'd have to take like all the, half and half guys, a bunch of guys in the league. Jalen Brunson's one of them, who's half and half. I think we'd have to get them. All right, that's going to do it for the episode. We'll end on that. Till next time, like, subscribe, share the podcast. Appreciate everyone for listening. See ya.